I tell myself Saddam Hussein, like him, you know, he's going to do this horrible thing. So therefore, they took off and go to Egypt. And then Matthew likes to apply biblical prophecy to everything. He picks some, I've called my son out of Egypt. No, that. Good concrete breakers here. So he applies this, I've called my son out of Egypt to that particular thing. But what's the next thing that happens in Matthew? Matthew has Jesus and his father, after things calm down, go where? Go up to Galilee, Nazareth, to be living in Nazareth. So that scenario, you realize, is different from Luke. You know that. What? Luke's scenario is what? Luke's scenario is now it came to pass, Luke 2:1-7. In those days there went out a decree from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be enrolled. There should be a census. This was the first census made when Quirinius was governor of Syria. Now, Josephus tells us about, I read it to you in Josephus. I'll read it to you again a little bit next time. I don't want to take today's discussion. I want to get moving into this material more deeply. So, I read it to you. What happens when Josephus talks about the census and the census of Quirinius, which is in 6 to 7 AD. That's why I tell you about a 10-year gap here. Why is he taking a census? What's Quirinius have to do with this area? The point of the matter is, Herod's already dead. Herod's son has succeeded him, Archelaus. Archelaus has not been very effective. Archelaus, I think, is mentioned in Matthew. It says it was the time of Archelaus that Jesus went back to Jesus' family, went up to Nazareth. Huh? 2:22. Yeah, okay. So that's when they leave Egypt and go up there. So, in Josephus, what always happens when he starts to discuss the census, which is always a prelude to what? Taxation. And in this case, the imposition of direct Roman rule. The reason we were imposing direct Roman rule through procurators, prefects, was that the Herodian family had elicited so much hostility on the Jewish population that there was war and revolution constantly, even before Herod died. I'll read you that episode next time. But after Herod died, from 4 BC to 7 AD. How many have read that period in Josephus? You should read it. Good. Anyone read it? It's a period of terrible strife. Herod has people skinned alive, other people are burned, there are messianic contenders. But what Josephus uses that period for is to launch into a discussion of the what? The sects. The sects of Judaism. He does it in the Jewish War, and he does it in antiquity. So it's the census. And in particular in the antiquity, he says, and the census brought out this discussion for and against. Now Jesus is involved in the census debate, right? In the gospel. Brought out this discussion, and who was for the census? The toadying, accommodating, establishment high priest, particularly the priest that Herod brought in from Egypt, a Jewish priestly family from Egypt called Boethus, and the sons of Boethus. I'm going to ask you to identify this on an identification in a test, something like Boethus. So you want to take anything I write on the board you're responsible for. you want to take a note about that and find it in your Josephus. I've got a Josephus. Not, you should get one of those. In any case, in the genealogies, you can look carefully at it. Herod's first wife, named Mary, Miriam, was who? A Maccabean, right. What did he do to her? Well, Josephus in the Jewish War spends around 4 chapters. He loves gory marital relations stuff. What did he do to her? He ultimately had her killed. Why? He accused her of having illicit relations with his brother, and that brother was called what? So that's the first Joseph and Mary story in literature. Because Herod accuses her of incest or illicit relations while he's away in Rome with his brother-in-law, and he has both of them executed. But he's already had children by her. That's the first marriage. Then, because he'd already killed her brother, whose brother? The first Marian's brother. What was his name? Jonathan. The last Maccabean high priest. Why did he kill Jonathan, her brother? Right. And that, I think, by the way, is where the Gospels get the idea of Herod wanting to kill all the Jewish children. He does that kind of thing, but for a specific purpose. In this case, I think that I mentioned to you, when Herod married Miriam, the last Maccabean princess, under duress probably, her handlers or people who were responsible for these things on her part, most of the male members of her family had already been executed. Her mother, that is, probably made a deal with Herod. Okay, you can have Miriam. You can get married into the royal family, become royal. You're just a Greco-Arab outsider. You are not even of Hebrew descent and Jewish descent. I'm not saying it's bad, but that's how they would have seen it. We'll let you in. But on the condition that her brother, younger brother, Jonathan, becomes the high priest. And so Herod, apparently, I think, kept to that, as Saddam Hussein would. Until when the boy, I think it was the age of 13 or 17, the age of 17, came to majority and put on the high priestly